Hi, it's Gil Robles, and I finally got a hold of Rebel 3, and I thought I'd make a first video of me using the application. And I'm just opening this up from the start and setting up my document and just letting you see how I'm going to set it up. And basically, I'm looking for something where the resolution is no less than 300. And so I'm trying to work for a good size for print. And I like the fact that, well, like before, you can always enter something that's customized, but also there's also a preset for the document I want to use, which was not present before. It was always a lower resolution, and I think that's because the way this program runs is that it uses up a lot of the memory on the machine and stuff like that, so it slows down your computer. But I was able to get through this without an issue with that. And also, I see there are fewer choices as far as your canvas and the texture on your canvas. That doesn't really bother me. There's also room to import more textures and so forth. So this is pretty much the little or slight changes here. You know, I just want to start my painting with a neutral tone canvas, and that's what I'm doing right here. So and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the watercolor brush, but I've used a number of the other brushes here, which I think are terrific. I like their Pastel Brush, and I like their acrylic brush a lot, because the acrylic brush, I like the impasto look. It's just really a lot of texture in the painting and so forth, and it's a fun brush to use. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to speed this up. Again, I'm going to use the acrylic brush, and I'm going to approach this the same way as I would a painting done in traditional materials rather than digital. I'm going to go ahead and start it the same way, and speed it up, obviously, because this is like about 2.5 to 3 hour painting, and just and even that, I mean, using traditional material, that's considered quick, you know. But I just wanted to play around with the brush, and you know what? It's a lot like what I remember it. But I guess somehow it's I don't know whether it's me or whether there's been a change in here, but it's a lot easier to use. The only thing is that in making the adjustments with this brush, sometimes it could seem like I'm using like a brush with split hairs, and it takes a little getting used to. But other than that, it's still pretty much what I remember from using this brush. So I don't know if that's disappointing because there's nothing new, but except one of the things that I do like to do is when I work digitally, I like to use, like, I start right here with the first layer where I start laying things down, and then once I take that layer as far as I want it to go, what I start doing is opening another layer and decreasing the opacity, just making it more transparent, and that way I start layering the painting little by little, kind of like adding a glaze over what's underneath. It makes it easier to transition between values and so forth, and to make changes like adding making the color a little cooler or a little warmer according to whatever the area needs. And then also, while I was working on this, another thing that I hadn't used before as much was the blending tool that's right under the brush icons on the left panel on the top. It's the first icon on the upper left, and with that I was able to smoothen the transitions out between values as well. And the only thing that it does as far as using that is that I can't use it. It can't be overused, because what happens is all these wonderful brush strokes that you get from this brush gets lost. It gets all blended in, and I want to keep this brush strokes. I think it's a very unique look to this brush, as far as making it look like the real thing. You have this it looks like a thick buildup of paint, like an impasto, and it makes it look that much more like or that much less like a digital painting, and more like something done in the actual paint. Whether they call it acrylic, but it could be oils too. It could, whether it's an oil or acrylic or whatever, you're using like a thick body paint, and I like that look a lot. I like that look. It's kind of what I want to get it away from looking too much like a digital body paint, looking too clean in that respect, and looking more like something that was done with like I said, traditional media. But you know, I sped this up. Most of painting is, you know, you're at the beginning stages, is you're finding where everything goes as far as the placement of the features or the size of the head, and you know, and then a lot of it is refinement. So the more time you spend working on those beginning stages, the less time it's going to take you to put the whole actual thing together, because a lot of important decisions are made in the beginning of a painting, like, you know, again, where the features go, how you know, you want to get rid of your drawing problems at the beginning, or you want to get through most of your drawing problems at the beginning. One of the two hardest things that I have is to make sure that everything lines up right, like the axis of the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and to make sure that those things aren't crooked. I have a tendency of kind of looking lopsided when as far as my head, turning my head to one way and kind of skewing my drawing or my painting as I'm doing that. This is I'm using that blend tool right now, and you see how it blends out all those brush strokes, and while it's great in terms of the transitions and stuff, I want to keep, like I said, that those brush strokes, and not flatten it out too much. But again, I like I was saying about the way I paint, I tend to turn my head to the side a bit and skew my drawing, because I guess the way I'm looking. I'm not sure if that's the case, but so it's very important for me to make sure I work out from the beginning that everything is right as far as the axis of the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and they don't come out crooked, you know. But so the more planning in the beginning, the better your painting is going to be, or the less problems you're going to encounter. Not that there aren't a bunch of other difficult problems. Like I said, one is keeping control of the values, keeping, you know, control of the transitions between one value to the next, thinking about color as far as cool and warm color, and you know, just but a lot of that comes from really looking at what you're trying to do, and I'm working from reference here. So I'm really looking at my reference at the same time, realizing that the reference can actually be off. People think that, you know, working from a photograph, like a photo is the truth. Not really. A photo kind of tends to either darken things. Like if you look at things working from life, if you look at a tree and you look at the dark areas in the tree, you'll begin to pick up different subtle shadings and subtle colors, and also you'll pick up warm and cool, and you know, the warm and cool and so forth. So you're able to see a little bit more when you're seeing it from life. A photo tends to darken everything, like where there would be all these subtle changes in the dark areas. It'll just be one value, one black or near black or whatever, just one dark value, whatever the color is. And so you're going to have to remember those things from when you see them, and kind of think about where they can go. You're going to have to depend on your intuition here and on your memory, and use that as well as the reference material in front of you, because reference is just reference. It's using as a starting point, but you either take out or leave what you need from it. And this especially became very important when I started doing illustration work, because I just, for every situation in illustration, I just can't find the right reference. And then at the same time, when I'm looking up for reference photos on the internet, I don't want to copy the reference photo, which is copyrighted or some such thing, or somebody, or you know, you could download a photo, but you don't know if somebody owns the rights to that photo, so you don't want to infringe on that person's right. You want to use that as a reference. You want to use that as or to help you get an idea of what you want to accomplish. You don't want to use that to copy directly from it. So that's kind of how I use a reference, especially when it comes to my illustration work. It's kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. So and then there's like the reference I'm using right now, where this is, you can go online and there's a number of places where you can go and find reference that are royalty free. You pay for them, and then you're able to use them for your painting, your illustration work, whatever. But even then, I mean, when it comes to illustration work or something like that, I don't like to use things like that, because it becomes a problem of ownership. Whether, you know what, you're actually using someone else's photo or someone else's idea and so forth, even though you bought it and you can use it. The problem is that, you know what, it's not entirely your idea. So I use this more or less for exercises, for practicing, for doing videos like this, and not for anything that's like finished work, or, you know, it's basically for show, you know. So anyway, needless to say, I was very, very happy working with this Rebelle. I'm anxious to go ahead and look at the other brushes here. I know that from what I understand, the watercolor brush is much improved, and you know, it was great to begin with, as well as I want to be able to look at the pastel. Those are my three favorites here: the watercolor, the acrylic brush, and the pastel brush. Now I can go ahead and explore the other brushes after that. I'm not sure what they are, because I hadn't paid too much. Well, there's obviously the pencil one, and then there's I think a airbrush and maybe an ink brush. I'm not sure, but I can look into it. But the main reason I bought Rebelle was for the watercolor brush, and then this acrylic brush was a great surprise, and also the pastel brush. Love the pastel brush, very fun to use and easy to blend and so forth. But it works for me. Now, the thing is that at this point in the painting, everything is all these subtle changes, because I was pretty happy with the drawing, where the drawing was, and so forth. Now it's making sure that basically my values work out. Usually, like what I've been doing lately would be to do a grisaille or a value painting underneath, and then apply my color using the blend modes. This one I did just like straightforward, just like if I were to approach a canvas in real life. I just went straightforward a la prima. Not that, what the whole idea of doing a grisaille or a value study underneath, that is a traditional method of painting, but there's also what I started doing here, which is more like an alla prima method of painting, which alla prima just means all at once. That's the term of the word, and that's what the word translates as in English. It's all at once, and so you're just trying to, I guess, finish the painting in one sitting, even though some, like, I think the method of painting alla prima comes from just and I could be wrong, but there are painters like Franz Hals, which made it look like he did this painting in one sitting, which really wasn't the case. But it was an impressive look. It just made it look, he made it look effortless in terms of the way he placed his brush strokes and so forth. But paintings usually take a very long time, and as far as this painting is concerned, spending about just under 3 hours on this isn't really a long time at all. But then different artists work at different speeds. For some people, I know some artists, and very good artists, not terrible ones or whatever, had said that if a painting takes them longer than 2 hours, they rather would not work on it. Then there are those who spend months working on one painting. It's from the initial concept to the studies that go in between to the finished painting, and that would be somebody like Norman Rockwell, who spent a long time working on one of those Saturday evening post illustrations. So for me, this, like I said, is mostly an exercise, so it's not really a finished painting, but I've basically taken the days, not months, to complete an illustration, but it would take me days or a week or so in most cases. So coming to the end, and just Rebelle 3 is a great program, and compared to other programs like Photoshop or Corel or whatever, and it's not as robust. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it has what you need to do something like this, to do great great work with. Not calling my work great, but just saying that the tools are great to work with, and it's very satisfying. So it's a great program. Highly recommend it if you don't already have Rebelle are not familiar with the other versions of the software. So that's it. So listen, if you like this video, please go right ahead and take note and press like for the video. If you want more videos, go ahead, like this, or enjoy more, go ahead and subscribe. I also want to remind everyone I do have a Patreon site where you can see more videos like this, and I'm going to include this on my Patreon site, but you can see more videos like this, and also other videos which are done in real time, okay, and other goodies as well. All right, thanks a lot, and